Hello and welcome to my video for our interactive student notebook. We're going to be doing notes on solving two-step equations. So take out your purple paper and do these examples with me as I go through. Be sure to pause at any time that you feel I'm going too fast and you need to catch up. That way you can write down what it is that we are doing. Keep track of any questions you have as you go along to make sure that you check in with me at some point and get your questions answered. So let's get started on the first example. So at the top here it says solving two-step equations. First, undo the addition/subtraction to remove the constant term. 2, undo the multiplication/division to remove the coefficient. So let's talk about those two words. Talk about what those two words mean. First, I see constant term. So that's going to be the number, which is the term that doesn't have the x on it. So we're looking at a number without x. Then we have the coefficient, and that's going to be the number in front of x, or whatever variable we have. So we want to make sure we annotate what those two words mean. So go ahead and fill it in on your worksheet. I may have to erase it in order to make room to do example 2, but you go ahead and write it on your worksheet so we remember what those two words are. Remember also you have that paper called Equation Breakdown in your notebook, which reminds you what constant and coefficient are in an equation. Okay, so if we're looking at example 1, we have 6x plus 8 equals 50. I'm going to make a division sign, or a division of my workspace by putting a vertical line through my equal sign. That way I can remember what's on the left side of the equation, what's on the right side of the equation, and I can make sure that I'm keeping my equation balanced. So on the left side, I have my variable. So what's happening to the variable? There's a 6 in front of it, which is the coefficient, and then there's an 8 being added to it. So first step says undo the addition or subtraction to remove the constant term. So my constant is positive 8. In order to undo adding 8, I need to do the inverse operation, which is subtract 8. So I'm going to put a subtract 8 right underneath it. Those two things are going to cancel out. But whatever I do on the left side of my equation, I have to do on the right side of my equation. So I'm going to put a minus 8 under the 50 as well. So my next step is going to be to just kind of simplify what I have on each side. So on the left side, 8 and negative 8 canceled out, and I'm left with just the 6x. So 6x equals, on the right side, 50 minus 8 is 42. So 6x equals 42. So I've done one of the two steps. The second step is to undo the multiplication or division to remove the coefficient. The coefficient of x is 6. It's attached to the x by multiplying. So to undo multiplication, I have to do division. So I have to divide by 6 so that this 6 in front of the x will go away, and I'll have isolated the variable, and I'll have 1x equals. 6 divided by 6 is 1, so 1x equals is the same thing as x equals. Because I did divide by 6 on the left, I've got to divide by 6 on the right as well. 42 divided by 6 is 7. So our solution to this equation is x equals 7. All right, moving on to the next one. Again, I'm going to divide my workspace by drawing that vertical line through the equal sign. That way I can keep my equal sign in line all the way down. I keep whatever's on the left, whatever's on the right on the right. So 2x minus 5 equals 11. So I have to look for the constant term that's with the x. So 2x minus 5 is on the left side. The constant term would be the negative 5. 2 is our coefficient. So they're subtracting 5 because there's a minus 5. So even though it doesn't look like a negative sign, I still can consider that a negative 5. Subtracting 5 and having a negative 5 are the same thing. So subtract 5, the inverse will be to add 5. So I'm going to add 5 right underneath it, and then I'm going to add 5 on the other side of the equal sign also. So I'm going to clean everything up a little bit. Negative 5 and positive 5 are going to cancel out and be 0. So I'll have 2x on that side equals, 11 plus 5, which is 16, on the other side. So 2x equals 16. Now I have to get the x alone. That 2 is attached by multiplication. It's a coefficient of the x. So to get it, I need to divide by 2 on both sides. So 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1, which leaves me with 1x, equals 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So x equals 8 is our solution. Moving on to example 3. In example 3, we have 13 equals negative 4x plus 9. This time, our variable is on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to start over on the right side of the equation and focus there. Negative 4x plus 9. My constant is plus 9, so I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. 13 minus 9 is 4. That's going to be equal to negative 4x, because 9 and negative 9 will cancel out. Be sure to bring down the negative with the 4, because that will screw you up if you forget that negative. Now, the x has a negative 4 in front of it as a coefficient, so we need to get rid of that coefficient by dividing, because a coefficient is attached to an x by multiplying. Inverse of multiply is divide. So negative 4x, I'm going to divide it by negative 4. Whatever is in front of my x, whatever is my coefficient, that's what I divide. If it's a positive 4, I'll divide by positive 4. If it's a negative 4, I'm going to divide by negative 4. And I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So both sides will be divided by negative 4. On the left side, 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. And that will be equal to, because negative 4 and negative 4 will divide out, it'll just be equal to x. So x equals negative 1 is our solution for number 3. Number 4. The x is now on the left side, and the x term is actually showing up second. I've got 7 minus 3x. So the term without the variable is 7, and that is a positive 7. So in order to undo positive 7, I have to subtract 7. So subtract 7 on both sides. These 7s will cancel out, and I'll be left with just negative 3x equals 34 minus 7, which is 27. Then I've got negative 3x. That negative 3 is attached by multiplication, so I need to divide to get rid of it. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. These negative 3's will divide out, and I'll have just 1x equals 27 divided by negative 3, which is negative 9. So our solution for number 4 is x equals negative 9. Now, for the next few examples, I've got fractions in them, but we remember we've done fractions before, and fractions just mean division. So we shouldn't be nervous about them. We're just going to be doing 2 steps. One of them will include getting rid of division. All right, so example 5. And divide my workspace. I've got x divided by 2 minus 7 equals 9. So that minus 7 is our constant. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides to get rid of it. So on the left side, negative 7 and positive 7 will cancel out. I'll be left with just x divided by 2 equals 9 plus 7, which is 16. X divided by 2 is easy to get rid of. Instead of division, I'm going to use multiplication. So I'm going to times 2, and that will allow those to cancel out. And then I'll times 2 on this side, and I'll have x equals 16 times 2, which is 32. So our solution is x equals 32. For number 6, it's very similar, except now our x is on the right side of the equation. X divided by negative 5 plus 8 tells us that 8 is going to be our constant, so it's a positive 8. I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. 11 minus 8 is 3, and that's going to be equal to x divided by negative 5. So if x is being divided by negative 5, to undo division, I'm going to multiply by negative 5. That's going to allow these to cancel out, and x will be by itself on the right side of the equation. But since I did it on the right side, I've got to multiply by negative 5 on the left side. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. So x equals negative 15 is our solution for number 6. Now the next two examples also include fractions. They're a tiny bit trickier. I can show you how to do them in 2 steps, but we've already learned how to do them in 1 step. So I'm going to focus on the method that we've used previously. If that's working for you, then keep going with it. All right, so our first example, number 7, is 4/5 x equals 8. So this can be undone in 2 steps, but I can undo it in one step. We learned before that whenever we have a fraction, in order to get rid of the fraction that's the coefficient, we're going to flip the fraction over and we're going to multiply. So I like to rewrite these ones because I don't have enough room to write my work on the top because it's such a small equation and squished up there next to example 7. So I'm going to rewrite it. And then we said we're going to take the 4/5, we're going to flip it over and make it 5/4, and we're going to multiply both sides by 5/4. Now the purpose of doing that is on the left side, 5/4 and 4/5 are going to cancel out because when I multiply them, I get 20 over 20, and 20 divided by 20 is 1. So that's going to give us just x on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I need to make that 8 over a 1 so I can multiply them straight across. So I'm going to do 8 times 5, and that's going to be 40. So my numerator is 40, divided by 1 times 4, which is 4. So I've got 40 divided by 4. X is going to equal 40 divided by 4, which is 10. So that's our solution there for that one. When I do example 8, it's going to be very similar. The only thing that's different here is we have a negative fraction. So again, let me rewrite it so I can show you my workout. And notice I put the negative on the 2. You have a choice. You can put the negative either on the 2 or on the negative 3, or you can leave it out front. I like to just attach it to the numerator every single time, but as long as you put it only in one place, it doesn't matter which place you put it. So in order to get rid of that coefficient of negative 2/3, I need to flip it over and multiply. So I got to multiply by 3 over negative 2. And I'll do that on both sides of the equation. And again, on the left side, when I go to do that, I'm going to get negative 6 over negative 6, which is going to divide out and be 1. So I'm left with just x. On the right side, I'm going to make that negative 6 over 1. So I'm going to have negative 6 times 3, which is negative 18, divided by 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2. So I've got to do negative 18 divided by negative 2. That's going to be a positive 9. So our solution is x equals 9. So go ahead and glue that into your notebook. Make sure you write your title at the top. You put your title on your table of contents. Ask any questions before you move on to the next worksheet. Otherwise, feel free to watch again and pick up on anything that didn't make sense. Be sure to ask questions in person or ask a classmate if something is confusing. Thanks for watching.